Amy, that name rings a bell. Yeah, she's doing great. She's doing really good.
What was she like as a child?
She was a lovely, lovely little girl, and she's still a lovely little girl. You know, and my kids, you know, they grew up in in a large extended family, as I did as a child. You know, and they were surrounded by music and love and laughter, and we just all had a good time, as we continue to do now. Smashing kid.
Did you know she was going to end up being one of the most famous voices in the world?
No, I mean, you know, I remember her being 9 and 10 and kind of starting out and realising she had a powerful voice. But when she went to drama school initially, you know, on a Saturday afternoon or whatever it was, she went there for acting and singing, and she got some gigs as an actress. She did. She had a star part in a professional production in Hampstead. I don't know how long ago that was, probably 15 years ago. She was 12 or 13 at the time, and it wasn't apparent, although she could sing. In fact, I'll tell the story very, very quickly. We went to see Amy at school, and she sang a song in the school show, and you know, I remember saying to my wife, maybe the song was in the wrong key for her, but I remember saying to my wife, thank God she can sing and dance, because she couldn't sing at that particular point. And we went back the following year, and already she could sing again, so they sorted it out. But I thought it was going to be dancing or acting would have been her sort of her aim, her direction.
I have two questions for you. Is there any better feeling than having a daughter who's got a #1 record?
Having a son who's got a #1 record as well at the same time. Yes. Well, that's not possible, is it? But you know what I mean.
You're pushing your luck there a bit, aren't you?
I know. But it's a wonderful. It really is. But it's kind of surreal. It's a bit like what's happening to me at the moment. It really is surreal. I mean, you think to yourself, is this really happening? Because Amy herself, she's not terribly demonstrative. And I remember I ran in screaming, Amy, we're #1, and she said, yeah, okay, Dad, I'm in the middle of something or other, you know. She wasn't really, but then she got excited. She gets excited about the strangest things. She called me up, and I went to see her. Dad, I'm #1 in Norway, and she was. This is true. She couldn't get over the fact that she was #1 in Norway. I said, but you've been #1 in over here for a month now, and that which didn't. I won't say it didn't mean it. It meant a lot to her, but it didn't excite her. But Norway, my God, you know, she's died and gone to heaven. Norway.
And my second question is there any better feeling than having a daughter at #1 to then find out she ends up on the front page of all the papers for reasons that you would prefer not to be reading about?
Well, you know, I mean, clearly they were very, very difficult times, and our particular problems were being not fought out, they were being played out in the tabloids, which is not great, you know, and hopefully those days are long, you know, are far behind us.
You decided to come out and let us know how she was. Do you think that was the right move or the wrong move, looking back on it?
I don't know. What do you think?
I think it was nice for us to hear that she was okay. I don't know how she'd view it.
Well, you know what? I just did the best that I could at the time. You know, it was a difficult time for me, and, you know, we had problems in other areas as well, which I won't go into today. But it was literally a tabloid war, and the only way that I could get my message across was basically to respond in the press. But that doesn't always work either. But, you know, with the benefit of hindsight, who knows? It's never going to happen again. That's the thing, because she's not going to be in that situation again. I don't know whether it was the right thing or the wrong thing to do. I really can't say. I did what I thought was right at the time.
From a personal point of view, every father wants the best for their kids. When you heard of her difficult times, how did that personally affect you? Because all you want to do is give them a big hug for a start.
Well, which is what we, as a family, that's what we did. There's tough love, there's soft love, and there's kicking them out. And well, it's not. She wasn't living with me. I didn't have to kick her out or anything like that. It's a question of just making sure that I'm talking generically now, I'm not talking about Amy, just making sure that the person that is affected knows what is happening around them, know how it's affecting the family, but allowing, you know, not cutting yourself off from that person. We regarded it as if it was somebody who was sick within the family, which is what it was. She was ill, and we were there for her.
Have you put your finger on why that downward spiral happened? What triggered it?
Well, I know what triggered it, but I won't be dealing with that today.
How's she doing now?
Brilliantly. And not enough credit is given to her. You know, I still read things like yesterday, Amy's dad doing the showcase, as you know, tormented Amy. What is she tormented about? You know, she's still tormented. This is not nonsense. Amy's recovery has been spectacular, but nobody gives her the credit for that.
From your perspective as a father, all you want is her to be well, regardless of number ones. It doesn't mean anything, does it?
Yeah, I mean, I would give it all up, really, including my own, not silly little thing, my own thing, absolutely, of course, for Amy to be happy and fulfilled. Of course, everyone, but of course it's not as simple as that. You know, she can't give it up, and it's a part of her psyche as much as breathing is.
The final question I'd like to ask about this is, how does she feel about the way that you've gone now with your new album?
She thinks it's great. You know, we spoke about this 5 or 6 years ago, about the potential of me doing an album, and we spoke seriously about it then, but then she became ill, and the timing wasn't right. Now she's better, and the timing is right, or the timing was right a year ago, because that's when it started, and she's very happy. She's very... She I wouldn't say she was instrumental on the album, but she certainly helped me choose the tracks and, you know, encouraged me to do it, because she's always encouraged me and said that I was good enough to do it. And, you know, obviously I couldn't do it without her. I mean, I wouldn't be making an album if I wasn't Amy's dad. I could have a voice like an angel. You know, people aren't waiting for a 59-year-old bloke to bring out an album. I am doing the album because I'm Amy's dad. Of course I am. But the moment I stepped in the recording studio, someone would have said to me, you know what, Mitch, you can't do this. And that wasn't the case. You know, I was able to hold up my end. I hope you've heard some of the tracks. I think musically, instrumentally, it's brilliant. And I've done a pretty good job, if I say so myself.
I think the reason that Amy's music was so popular is it took us back to a better place musically. A lot of people have copied her since. You hear those great sounds of the 50s and 60s and perhaps 70s, but none of that disco rubbish that was so predominant when she was in the charts. Your album is another album that takes us back to a better place, isn't it, really?
Well, it's very nice of you to say so. And yeah, it does. It takes us back to what we conceive as better times. But of course, they weren't necessarily better times. I think musically they were better times. You know, as I was saying, you know, we lived in a house, our first house, we never had an outside toilet. We never had a bathroom. So they weren't necessarily better times, but I think musically they were better times.
The good thing about you, of course, is you're a talker, as all cabbies are, or at least most of them are in London. Do you miss the days where you can just talk to riff-raff like me as you're driving round?
Well, you know what? It's a funny thing, because I had this conversation many times. I'm not a great talker in the cab. You know, I don't impose myself on anybody. If somebody gets in the cab and say, hi, how are you? Where do you want to go? And they say, Great Portland Street. OK, jump in, sir. They jump in, they shut the door. I switch off the intercom and I put on my music or I listen to the radio. You know, I would never impose myself on anybody. I've never been rude to, I wouldn't dream of being rude to anybody, but, you know, sometimes the passengers want to engage you, which is fine, but I would never, ever impose myself on anybody by driving a man and talking to them. I remember once, it's embarrassing, you know, Amy's album came out, the first album, Frank, it was October 2003, and we were driving through London, and there was this massive poster up on the wall of Amy with Frank and I said to the bloke behind, I said, here mate, I said, you see that picture over there? He said, yeah. I said, that's my daughter. He said, do me a favour, will you? He said, I'm on the phone. He said, do you mind? He said, I'm trying to, he said, I'm not interested. He said, just drive. And I thought, well, he was rude. He was arrogant and rude. But, you know, that cured me of anything like that.
Nothing more humbling than people, especially in London.
No, exactly. And I thought, right, I'm never going to talk to anyone in the cab again. And it did the trick.
Yeah. Where do you go from here? I mean, you've got this singing behind you now, and you've got the album coming out. Would you like to tour? I mean, is this what we're going to see next?
I hope so. I hope so. You know, I mean, the sales of the album, to me, is almost a byproduct. It'll be great. I mean, you know, to make 10 million quid, which is never going to happen. But I mean, to make some money out of it would be terrific. But really, what I want to do, I'd love to use it as a vehicle to, you know, to get some work, to bring that kind of music back to the. And you know, when I say bring that music back to people, you know, I mean, obviously Bublé's doing it, but in a limited way. You You know, but once you talk about Bublé and Jamie Cullum, well, now you're struggling a little bit. You know, now you're struggling a little bit. So it would be great to be able to sing not my kind of music, at that kind of genre music, and to reintroduce those lovely songs back to people again, because I think they're ready for it. I mean, there's thousands and thousands of songs which people just don't know exist. They know My Way, they know That Old Black Man, they know all that stuff, you know, but there's thousands of other songs which nobody's heard before.
You mentioned two people there who are internationally successful. Do you think this is going to end up around the world?
Who knows? I mean, I'd like to think it would. I would hope so, but, you know, I have no preconceived ideas. It's I really can't answer that. I mean, I want it to, of course. I mean, everyone wants to be... What's the point of bringing an album out if you don't want it to be successful? You know, I can sit here with false modesty all day long. It's pointless. You know, I think it's going to be a good album, and I think it will do very well abroad. I think there is more appreciation for that kind of music, perhaps outside of this country, Germany, France, America, than perhaps inside this country. I think we may be a little bit too much pop orientated.
I've got to ask you a final question, and I mean this with the greatest respect. I wouldn't have you on if the album was rubbish, but I do want to talk to you because of Amy. Are you okay with that, knowing that people do want to talk to you because of what your daughter's done to the world of music?
Well, I mean, let's be frank, and I said this before, I wouldn't be making the album if I wasn't Amy's dad. You know, so I'm not going to pretend that she doesn't exist, and I'm not going to pretend I'm an overnight sensation and I've been on the club scene and somebody already discovered me and they think I'm fantastic. I am talking to you today because I'm Amy's father, let's be honest about it. And I'm okay with that. But, you know, as we've spoken about before, some of this other stuff, it's gone on for too long. And not only is it gone on for too long, we're talking about stuff that happened 3-4 years ago.
Sad thing about tabloids, and even myself, we're all so curious these days. We all want to know, and you open your doors and then everybody's going to ask the question. You
know, I accept that. I mean, I accept that, but will you accept what I say when I say that she's doing great, she's working on a new album, and she can't wait to get back into it again? And there isn't really anything else to say other than that, really.
I don't know whether you believe me, but I'm so thrilled to hear that. Tears Drown the Own is one of my favourite songs ever. I just think it's so beautifully put together and, of course, sung and performed. She is a legend, and, you know, I'm just so glad that you're so proud of her and everything's going well, because that's all we want, another great album from Amy Winehouse.
Yeah, I couldn't be more proud of both of my children. They are, apart from the fact that they're both talented in their own ways, my son's a writer as well, apart from the fact that they're both extremely talented, they're lovely, wonderful human beings. You want to see Amy. My mum passed away 4 years ago, unfortunately, but how she was with my mum and my aunties and my uncles. You know, this is what, to me, life is all about. It's about family and friends, and it's the byproduct. The byproduct is she's extremely talented as well, but even if she wasn't extremely talented, she's an extremely talented member of my family. That's what she's great at.
Mitch, your son writes the song. What about you and Amy singing one together?
Well, you know what, we spoke about it for the album, but we both decided it wasn't the right thing to do, because I really wanted the album to stand up on its own, you know, and not to be, how can I phrase it, you know, not to sell albums just because, I mean, that would be the easy way out, really, I think, to stick a couple of Amy tracks on there, her and I doing, and we'd sell X amount and more because Amy's on it. I don't think that would be fair. It's not fair to her and it's not fair to me. What happens in the future, who knows? I mean, to be honest with you, to actually do a song together, a duet, it's very difficult. I've got a book at home of duet songs you can do as duets. You find a duet that's not a love song, you can't do it, apart from Me and My Shadow.
Yes.
That's the only one. And everyone's done it, and everyone's done it to death.
I'd love to hear you two singing You Don't Bring Me Flowers. I think it'd be marvellous.
Yeah, but it's a love song. What I'm saying is...
Well, get your son onto the job to write you a new one. That's what we need to do.
Well, how are you going to do it? How are you going to write a song that's not...
He's got to do it. That's his job.
What are we going to do? We can write a song about football or something.
You could sing a song about In the Back of My Cab, I'm in the back of my dad's cab. And it could be something like that. What do you think? No?
I think you should stick to your day job, pal.
Time to go. All right, Mitch Winehouse, thank you for coming on the programme. Congratulations with this new album. What shall we end with?
Thanks a lot. Why don't you play the title track, Rush of Love?